In this video, we're going to talk about the quotient rule. So our given formula for the quotient rule simply looks like this. We have f prime times g minus f times g prime, all divided by g squared. So just like the product rule, we're going to follow this and plug it in. So let's look at our first problem. We want to find the derivative of f of x equals 2x all divided by 3x plus 1. So how do we know we have the quotient rule? We have two x's in two different places and they are being divided by one another. So that is how we know we have the quotient rule. Now we need to decide what we want for our f and what we want for our g. Once you have done these a few times, you don't need to pick out which one. You'll just simply go ahead and plug it right on in. So I'm going to say this top portion is going to be f and this bottom portion is going to be my g. Okay, so for the first portion, we're just going to simply plug in what we have. So we have f prime of x. Okay, so we have f first, so 2x prime times g, which is 3x plus 1. Being subtracted, we have f again, 2x multiplied by g prime, 3x plus 1 prime. Just like product rule, our ends are being primed. But now we have divider of g squared, which our g is 3x plus 1, and it's squared. Okay, so from here, what we just need to do is find the derivative of each end term. So f prime of x, this will be 2 multiplied by 3x plus 1, and then still subtracting. Keep your 2x the same because we're not finding the derivative on that term, but we are finding it on this one, and this just happens to be 3, all divided by 3x plus 1 squared. Okay, from here, it's just simplifying. So we have f prime of x. This will equal, go ahead and multiply in. We have 6x plus 2 minus, now do not forget the subtraction. When you have a more complicated problem, this will definitely give you a sign error. So be very careful to distribute this all the way through. On this one, it's pretty easy because we just have our two terms. So minus 6x all over 3x plus 1 squared. Okay, so from here, one more step. I can see that these will cancel. Our final answer will be 2 over 3x plus 1 squared. All right, so looking at this problem, it's pretty simple. It's as simple as just plugging into what you have for f and what you have for g. However, there is a trick when using the quotient rule. And what that trick is simply you plug it in to where you have a product rule, because the product rule is actually quite easier to use than the quotient rule. I don't advise this. Definitely look at what your professor or your teacher is asking you to do. If they want you to use the quotient rule, make sure you just know this formula and plug it right in. But if they say just differentiate the problem, I would recommend definitely using the product rule, because it's as simple as saying, here was our original problem. If we want to use the product rule on this, this would be the same thing as saying f of x equals 2x times 3x plus 1 to a negative 1. So I'm simply just bringing it up. And this now will give us a product rule because we're multiplying our two x's. So that's always an option when you're using the quotient rule, is you can bring up your denominator depending on what the power is, put it to a negative, and now you have the product rule. But when you have to use a quotient rule, just go ahead and plug into this formula. It's fairly simple. Just do not forget this negative sign, because that will be distributed all the way through and it can actually lead to many sign errors. If you have any questions or any problems you'd like me to solve, please leave a comment below. I'll do my best to solve them. And until next time.